right, at this time, the board will reconvene into open session. We're going to move down to item 6.01, disbursements for the month of June 2025. Were there any questions on this? All right, 6.02, Student Safety Task Force Report. Dr. Johnson.
Good evening. So I have some Student Safety Task Force members that are here to co-present with me, and I'm really excited to highlight their skill sets and the things that they bring as community members and task force members. And so we want to share with you the work that we have done over the month of, ending the month of April and through the month of May. And so to get started for you as well as the community members that are watching at home, I want to kind of give you an overview of how the meetings were structured. And it was important that we went through a process of shared learning, and so that we could come together and understand how we can learn together in order to make informed recommendations moving forward. So meeting number one, we went through the purpose and goals of the task force, the role, we had presentations for the role of SRO in schools, and then we went over the Texas School Safety Standards, and our safety and threat assessment team members presented. And at the end, we finished with a presentation synthesis activity, and this happened each meeting until we got to the third meeting. Meeting two, we started out with a review. We did parking lot because they had some lingering questions. We went over chapter 37 for student discipline, and we talked about the student code of conduct. In meeting number one, many of our safety task force members, they thought, hey, let's get right into the recommendations. And the only problem with that is we didn't have the context, the background that we needed in order to make good recommendations. So we talked about the challenge of developing recommendations and coming to consensus, because we had over 75 people in the room, and we all had to come to consensus around what the recommendations were. And so we did a final parking lot review. And then we reviewed prior meeting content, because over the course of 4 weeks, there's a lot to learn and also a lot to forget. And so we reviewed that information, and then we went through some brainstorming, affinitizing, consensogram, and then we came to our conclusions. And it was pretty awesome to watch a room of 75 people use quality tools to come together. And so I want to just frame this presentation, the safety task force members, in the audience and behind me. We truly believe that we have everyone we need in HEB-ISD to help us address the issues that arise in our schools. And when we know that when we bring them in, they surprise us with their recommendations, they inform us and give us ways in which we can improve. And a lot of the work that we had already started to think about, and so they validated and they affirmed some of the steps that we were already taking. So. Uh, 1.4 was making sure that we have procedures in place to address risky behavior. In phase two, this was about educating all stakeholders to make sure that emergency management practices were in place. And so we are a CI district, and it would not be an HEB event if we didn't use quality tools. And so these are some of the quality tools that we use at the end of each meeting. That presentation synthesis activity allowed each member at their tables to go over key information that they heard, think about the questions that they still had based on the information presented in that meeting, and then they connected their own personal experiences. And this is where we got a little bit of feedback about, from a customer service standpoint, about how well we've done in the past, or how well we just recently have done, or what we needed to improve on. And so this was great to read those green sticky notes of the connections to their experiences. And then there were ideas for enhancement. And the reason why we added we were able to categorize each one of the recommendations that they made. Now, I will tell you, when we advance the slides, there will be a lot of information on the slides. And there's some stars in there. And I wanted to call attention to these stars because these are things that were either already in place or the 89th legislature moved those things forward, and now they're requirements going into the school year. And so they're not going to read these slides to you, but they're going to tell you what resonated with them. So first up, in monitoring and visibility, I want to bring up Ms. Wade, who's a former student, to talk to you about her involvement with the task force.
Good evening. My name is Bradley Wade, and I just wanted to take a moment to say thank you for allowing me the opportunity to come speak today. I graduated from Trinity in 2024, and I am currently a sophomore at the University of Texas at Arlington. I am majoring in grades 4 through 8, math and science education. So I come here today as a former student and future educator of HEB-ISD. I chose to join the Student Safety Task Force because I wanted to take a deeper look into the systems that our district operates under and how they're structured and implemented. More than anything, I wanted to stay an involved and informed member of the community that has raised me. Being a part of this group has allowed me to connect what I've learned throughout our sessions with what I've experienced as a student. It helped me see the why behind many of the actions and decisions that, as a student, I didn't always understand. What resonated with me most, and what I would like to acknowledge, is that while we may feel safe in our schools, the hard truth is that anything can happen anywhere. A sense of security is important, but I don't want to let that comfort turn into a dull of our awareness. And I think this is especially true whenever we have a group of people who are unfamiliar with the school community present. Preparedness should always be our top priority. As a former student, I also know that many students want to feel empowered and involved, so they can take an active role in their safety by recognizing concerning behaviors and being able to report them, and they know how to report them. Following protocols during drills and taking safety procedures seriously. When we include students in the process, we're not only protecting them, but we are preparing them. This shouldn't stem from a place of fear, but rather responsibility. Their voice matters, and with the right guidance, they can be empowered to recognize risk and respond accordingly. At the end of the day, it always comes back to connection to each other, to our schools, and to our community. When people feel connected, they pay attention and they speak up about what they care about. Being a part of this task force has given me a new perspective, one that I'll carry with me into my future classroom. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to be involved and to share my ideas with you, and most importantly, thank you for hearing them. I am proud to be part of HEB-ISD, and I look forward to our future together.
Thank you, Ms. Wade. I want to call out two bullet points. First is to enhance, in the middle, you see enhanced security on special event days, field day generations. We have a ton of events throughout our district, and it takes a great deal of effort to ensure that those events stay safe. And so there's always opportunities to enhance our security. And as you know, going into Pennington Stadium, now we have our metal detectors that are walk through. And so we're constantly working on that to ensure that people aren't bringing unwanted weapons and things like that in. And then the other thing that I want to call attention to, which will be new for secondary students, is that we'll require all students to wear ID badges. And it was great to hear the recommendation that we need to require all our students. It was like, yes, we are planning to do that anyway next year. And so what a great affirmation opportunity. So next up, to talk about parents and students, I'd like to welcome Mr. Shaw.
Ladies and gentlemen of the board, good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to come and speak and present to you all tonight. My name is Joe Shaw. I've been a member of this community my entire life. I've even played ice hockey fraternity way back when, 2005. So yeah, wanted to put that out there. This community is so important to me that I moved back here after college to start and raise a family in this district. Both of my kids go to Meadow Creek Elementary. I'm on the PTA board of Meadow Creek Elementary. I lead the male caregivers group, the Dolphin Dudes, at Meadow Creek Elementary, which allows us an opportunity to be visible, to be present, and to be actively volunteering beyond just wearing the Dolphin mascot, which is a perk as well. And being part of this task force, it was important to me because I wanted to see what goes on behind the doors. I wanted to understand all of the great work that the district is doing, and I also wanted an opportunity to help shape the future of this district, given that my children entering 5th and 3rd grade will be part of this community for quite a long time. And a lot of the conversations that occurred at our table were one of amazement at all of the great work that the district is already doing, and a willingness to want to educate more individuals about the great work. A lot of the conversations came about around the parents and student involvement. Obviously, I'm very involved with volunteering, and it was important to me to have an increased parent volunteer presence on campuses during the school day. I'm privileged in that I have a flexibility within my workday where I can be up at the school creating things like a haunted hallway for a fall festival. I know not everyone has that ability to in their day-to-day, and so I think it's important to have opportunities like the PTA, our volunteers, our male caregivers group, for parents who can afford the opportunity to come up and be present and help create a sense of safety and community at our school. The other conversation was around students. What resources can we have for those students, specifically around social and emotional wellness? There's an aspect on here around expanding mental health support, especially for students identified as potential safety risks. I think it's important that the more resources we can give to students to help with the root cause of many of these issues, the better we can set them up to be long-standing positive members of this community. And a lot of those conversations at our table revolved around the parents and the students' involvement. So once again, I want to thank you for
in talking in our tables, I think it's very important that as a different generation that we come to understand what those challenges are for our parents. Things that we take for instance, let's look at the floods last week and the fact that our first responders, they don't just hop in the water. They have been training for years. They've been training. needing a little extra guidance, a little tick over to the other side, just to understand where their place is in the process of making a difference in the world. That if they had some caring adult that was following up with them and just following them and watching what they're doing, that's pretty amazing. I love that you want to go to elementary school and do that too. And again, funding, we'll continue to pray for the money tree. But thank you very much for doing this. Thank you for allowing me to come in and to learn and empowering us. Like, just because we have the t-shirt from PTA does not mean we check it at the door, that we are continuing growing community, and that there are people out there that need to know this and want to help and support all of our educators, because children, you gotta love my kids, I gotta love your kids, and we're all gonna make a beautiful community together. So thank you.
And I just want to add to this, one of the wonderful things about public school is that we take all kids. And that means that when there's a student who is particularly in crisis and dealing with some things, whether that presents itself in the classroom or inside the cafeteria in a major area, our students are exposed to that. And our community wants to know what we're doing. And so making sure that not just training on the educator side, training on the student side as well as training on the community side of what we do in those situations, and that we are taking action is important. Next up to talk about that communication is Ms. Rio.
Hi there. My name is Autumn Rio. I'm a proud parent of Jackson and Taylor Rio. Jackson's a senior this year at Trinity High School, and Taylor will be an 8th grader at Harwood Junior High. Also, we're residents here actually in North Arlington, and we moved to North Arlington purposely to be able to be in the school district with HEB when our kids got to be that age. So it was just a 3-mile move that we made, but it was purposely to be a part of the school district. And since it was new for our family, we knew that we would need to participate and to be able to learn how the school district works, how the community works. Hence my participation in our PTAs and other organizations. And so that's why I was really driven to be on this committee and was glad to be selected, because while you do need to participate, I feel like it's fundamental that servant leadership in your community, to be able to give back and to be a part of your community. For me, it was also very personal, because my daughter did come home that day at Harwood when there was the altercation between the two students, and she had a lot of questions. And unfortunately, I didn't have any answers. And I thought that being a member, like she said, of the PTA, and have gone through all these ways to make sure I understood, that day I had no answers for her. So I was very happy when this committee came about, because it gave me an opportunity not just to give feedback, but to learn how our school district works and what they are doing, and then thankfully to give some input and be a part of the future of the success of our school district. So communication was fundamentally, it was shared no matter what anyone talked about or what they felt like they were passionate about in our task force. Communication across the board was, I feel like, number one. And it's not just because communication is necessary for organizations and businesses to thrive, but for a school district is absolutely fundamental for the future success. And I think that having a committee like this is the first step in doing so. And it's so important for our communities, for them to feel like not only do they have a great school district and they hear about that, but to have that ongoing two-way conversation and relationship with us, that they can give feedback, that they can feel a part of the community. They're all there. They're always asking for ways that they can be and participate with our school district and with our schools. And so I think being able to have that open conversation with them gives them an opportunity for all of us to collaborate. And it's not just emails and newsletters, but like I said, that two-way conversation that is so necessary for the success and the safety of our schools. So I appreciate you giving us the opportunity and for this task force to be able to facilitate and be a part of the process.
And before I move any further, I just want to make sure that if you participated, staff and everybody, if you participated in the safety task force, please stand up. And so I've got 2 more slides, and counseling was a major conversation along with communication, because our counselors have large caseloads, And so as we continue to have students who are in greater need, we continue to need to free counselors up to do what they do best and for social and emotional as well as academic support for our students. And so there was a recommendation to increase the number of counselors. And you can't do that without funding. And so here was what the group said. They said that they would like us to continue to advocate for equitable funding for the increased needs of our students. And so great to know that we are so involved in the advocacy and trying to take care of HEB ISD. But before I go any further, let's be very clear about this. While this presentation is nice and they've said some really good things, these people behind me really challenged us every single meeting. And we had some tough conversations. I remember we were afterwards for an hour and a half, Ms. Rio, and she was just giving us all the feedback. And there wasn't anything that I disagreed with. It was great information. So this is what partnership looks like, when they can challenge and push, and the things that they give us are great things that we need to consider in doing. So I just wanted to call out, it was tough to hear some of the feedback, but so grateful for all the conversations that we had during those meetings. And so the road work ahead, we're going to take these recommendations and we're just going to go step by step, and we're going to develop an internal task force, student safety task force, of our paras, our teachers, our other professionals, anybody who touches a student and has to deal with a student in crisis, a student on their best day, a student on their worst day, etc. We're going to bring all of them together and talk about how we implement some of these.
You alluded to it, Brandon, and I'm curious to know, where do we go from here as far as continuing the task force? You mentioned internally. Is there any thoughts of continuing externally, and is that needed?
Yes, so one of the things that they asked for, a piece of feedback, is they don't want it to be over with this. And so they want us to continue to engage them, whether it be ad hoc or a couple meetings. So we don't want to take up too much of their time. But what we want to do with the internal task force is we want to come back and we want to report out to them on, here are your recommendations, here's what the internal task force said, and then here's where we're going. And so the plan is to bring them back.
In addition to that, is there any other form of communication in addition to this 75 that the parents could utilize concerning this particular issue?
So we have a website, and we posted the meeting minutes on that website after each meeting. And so now that we have this presentation, I'm not sure, Deanne, did we post the PowerPoints? That was internal. Yeah. And so, yes, there is a space, and we have sent out emails to all of those who were not selected, and it was a total random selection. So we had over 400 people apply to be part of it, and we took 75. And so it's truly random.
I don't have questions, I've just got a few statements. Anybody has any questions?
I've got a question.
Okay, go ahead.
What's going to, I noticed that you mentioned in here things about mentorship programs and engaging the parents. Where is there something district-wide an initiative, or is there each school going to do something to embrace parents to bring them in?
So,
How is that? What is?
So our conversation was around the programs that we have in place are so impactful, we need to expand them. And so what that looks like on each campus at this point, we don't know until we bring in the safety task force. But the key is we want it to be organic, and if we're going to do it, we want it to be lasting. And so.
No, and let me add this. So those under those topics are the recommendations that the task force said, we'd love to see you investigate this more. And that's what we're talking about. So those ideas are all getting turned over to the internal task force. So the internal task force is then going to review those to look at the feasibility of what can we now implement. Here were the ideas we had. We can do these two. Okay, let's set this one aside because we maybe can get to that. These three things could become this one program, but that's the idea is these are the recommendations we have. What can we then do? What can we implement? And that's going to be tasked to the internal task force to see what of these can we make happen.
And one of the things I shared with some of the members throughout the task force that I had some side conversations with was we have a lot of community and businesses that want to come into our schools. By having this recommendation, it simply means they're saying yes. We want more of our businesses and community members to be in our schools, and that means that we as a school district have to say yes when the business reaches out to us and says, hey, we want to come engage with students in a way. And so I wouldn't take each and every one of these recommendations as something that we're going to implement a program. I think it's a mindset. It's a mindset to choose to communicate in a two-way fashion instead of a one-way. And that was something that we talked about as well. And so when that organization comes to you and they want to work with, a group of 10 kids, and instead of saying, I don't know how to make that work, I'll get back to you, and then get busy, and they're saying it's important enough for us to say yes and find a way to make that happen. And so that's kind of the way we look at it with the internal task force.
Okay, mine has nothing to do with safety. But I'd like to thank the Trinity graduate for being a part of this, and we were all impressed with your presentation. Second, I do remember those hockey games of 2005 for different reasons. And Mrs. Lunsford, did your husband write the article in the Wall Street Journal?
Yes. Yeah. Oh, yes.
Yes.
Yes, back in the day.
Well,
yeah.
Her husband wrote the article on Trinity in the Wall Street Journal, and little insight is what they do is they take the front page and they press it out in tin, and they put it on a drum, and that's how they print that first page. And he brought me the tin from that spool, and I have it framed at home. So I wanted to thank you and your husband for taking care of us at Trinity and also for the kind gift. So thank y'all.
So just to bring it back a little bit to this presentation, I want to commend all of you and every one of the other people that signed up to be a part of this task force and actually participated in the task force. In many communities, even in our backyards, when something traumatic or difficult happens, it becomes a fight at the school board meeting. And what you all have done tonight is come here and talk to us in a way that makes us, understand it and get on board with your recommendations and your feedback. And it's not something that we see in communities even right around us. And so I thank you for your participation.
Yeah, I want to thank everyone who signed up again and who participated. Thank you so much for taking your time and spending your time in this way to help the school district get better. I'm thinking back to when we first got on the school board. When I first got on the school board 13 years ago, I think we had one part-time person, and that was our entire safety department. And unfortunately, things across the nation, unfortunate events keep happening and keeps putting more and more focus on student safety and school safety. And it's something that, I don't know that we'll ever reach the end to where, like Ms. Wade said, you can feel safe, but then something you can never control everything. But we have to keep trying to do as much as we can to prevent things from happening, and if something does happen, to stop it as safely and quickly as possible. So thank you so much for your input. This is a lot of information. It's a lot of things that we're going to have to look at. It's a lot of work that's going to be occurring over the next few years, but it really helps us have a pathway to keep up our work now that we have a full-blown safety department, and I'm sure you got to meet all those people. It's something that we're going to keep investing in as a district. We're going to keep investing our dollars and our time to try to keep our schools as safe as we possibly can, because there's nothing more important to anybody on this board or in the school district than that. So thank you again, and thank you for everything you've done.
Thank you.
All right, 6.03, revision to board policy FDA regulation admission intra-district transfers. Ms. Tuttle.
All right. So we have 3 regulations that we're bringing to you tonight. And the first one has to do with intra-district transfers and classroom assignments. So I'm just going to read the sentence that was added to this policy. It says a student who's the child of a peace officer will be assigned to a campus of the parent's choosing as long as space is available. When space is not available, the district will provide information on other campuses and grade levels that can accommodate a request for an intra-district transfer. And this is part of recent statute that allows this service for someone who is the parent or acting as the parent of the child of a peace officer. Any questions?
What if a peace officer is intra-district? Can they choose what school they want their kids to go to inside the district if they're already zoned for a certain school?
They can request it.
Okay. So just like any other parent, do they have a higher priority, or is it?
So for intra-district, for inter-district, they can choose, okay, hold on just a second, because I want to make sure that I am not reading. Yes, I am reading from the incorrect policy. I just read from FDB instead of FDA. So good catch, Matt. That was very diplomatic. So a transfer request for the child of a non-resident peace officer will be granted for 1 regular school year at a time on a tuition-free basis, and it is as space is available. So it is not specific to the campus, or the guarantee cannot be made specific to the campus.
Okay. All right, any questions? All right, 6.04, revision to board policy FDB, regulation admissions, intra-district transfer and classroom assignments.
Which is what I just accidentally read to you. Are there any questions?
All right, 6.05, regulation to board policy CQ, technology resources.
So we have long had in our CQ regulation a statement regarding the way that our philosophy in HEB-ISD regarding responding to concerns or issues that are raised through email. In the past, this statement included specific references to external stakeholders. It has been expanded to include internal stakeholders as well. And so you will see on page 11, employee communication via district email. And this is something that we ask for our employees to pick up the phone and to make a phone call, or to schedule a Google Meet, or to schedule an in-person meeting, so that we can ensure that we're seeing the heart behind the words and that we're truly getting to the root cause instead of emailing back and forth. So this was just a clarification statement added to this policy. Any questions?
I like that. You don't solve problems via email. All right, thank you, Cicely. We have a long list of regular board meeting agenda items to review, but we'll start with financial statements. Mr. Williams.
All right, good evening. It's very good to be here. This meeting, it's been a while since I've been up here. All right, we're going to look at the financial statements for the month ending May 31st, 2025. In our general fund, we have a fund balance of $216,135,402. That represents revenues over expenditures in the amount of $37,832,118. Investment interest through this reporting period was $6.3 million, so we continue to gain some ground there. Total expenditures as of the end of May were at 68.19%, which is below our 75% threshold we measure against. So that fund is performing as we expect it to. The general fund matrix, payroll, we had $138 million $455,203 for the period, which is 86.1%. Utilities were at $3,754,131, which was 2.3% of the budget. Instructional supplies of $2,221,533 was at 1.4%. And then the other expenditures were $3,141,241 were at 2%, which, as I've said every month, that includes a very large property insurance premium. The Child Nutrition Fund, we had a fund balance of $8,777,548. That's revenues over expenditures in the amount of $1,858,921. The department continues to do well. Expenditures as of 5/31 were at 61.94%, again under that 75% threshold. So that budget and that fund is performing very well. The Debt Service Fund, we have a fund balance of $65,501,546. That represents revenues over expenditures in the amount of $41,252,840. Of course, we've made our February debt payment. Our August debt payment is coming up. For the year, we will the total debt service owed will be $62,033,800. Interest income in that fund for the reporting period was at $1.56 million. Tuition-based pre-K fund, a fund balance of $534,778. That's revenues over expenditures in the amount of $194,628. Revenue received through May was 96.51% of what was budgeted. Total expenditures as of the end of May was at 75.53. With that fund, that's even though that's a little over, that's normal because there really won't be any more expenditures for the remainder of the year. But that fund is performing as expected. The special revenue funds. I told Matt I need to close that gap up there a little bit so it doesn't look like it's missing numbers. There's multiple funds, as you know, in the special revenue funds, and I want to tell on myself, Matt, I did the same thing when I walked back to accounting two months ago, and I'm like, hey, where's my numbers for this? Anyway, it's an inside story to me and Matt. Inside joke. We don't list them all out there with the fund balances because there's so many different state and revenue funds there. So anyway, total expenditures of May 31st were at 43.50%. Expenditures do exceed revenues due to the lag in TEA reimbursements, which is very normal. So those funds are all performing as we expect them to. No issues whatsoever. Caps Activity Fund balance of $3,606,105. That represents revenues over expenditures in the amount of $243,677. As of end of May, revenues were at $2,414,119, while the expenditures were at $2,170,442. So they're starting to spend a little bit of their money. But anyway, those funds are doing as we expect them to. The 2024 bond fund, fund balance of $550,302,542. That represents expenditures over revenue in the amount of $22,599,802. Those numbers will start coming down rather drastically, Matt, as you put your name on a check the other day. That's probably the biggest check you might have ever put your name on. It was $12.2 million in one check. So went to Juris for the construction projects. Investment interest revenue for the year as of this reporting period was at $13.8 million. So we are raking in some nice revenues off of that, although we will have to pay some arbitrage back to the IRS at some point in the future. Of course, you know the first issue was back February of 2024, or March of 2024. The next issue we're looking at for the remainder of those bonds is sometime in mid-2026. I will say that we did look into possibly issuing ahead of time because of some legislation that was out there that was going to impact. And some school districts did choose to do that, but we had George Williford looked into that for us, and it financially, it did not make sense for us to go ahead and try to beat that September 1st deadline for the legislation that was coming up. So we chose not to pursue issuing early. Locally defined fund balance of $26,184,545. That's expenditures over revenues in the amount of $2,044,747. Investment interest for this fund was at $770,000. What else we got here? The funds are currently being used for ongoing safety and security additions, HVAC replacement, bus and maintenance vehicles, Pennington field lighting, seating upgrades, replacement of band instruments, and the purchase of the box trucks for VPA, that all of which you as a board approved. So, and anything new we will bring to you in the future if we have a need that we feel like could be helped by this fund. So, any questions?
Any questions on financial statements? All right, let's look at budget transfers.
This month we have only one budget transfer. I believe it's $33,000. We need to transfer that to pay for our JJAEP placement.
Any questions on that? All right, quarterly investment report for quarter ending May 2025.
You've got that report there in front of you. Interest rates continue for our portfolio to hover right around 4.25%. So it's dropped a little from the past, but we're still gaining a fairly good amount of revenue off of our funds. Any questions for that report?
Any questions on the quarterly investment report? All right, school lunch meal price at elementary and secondary campuses.
Okay, this is we do this every year. Mariella runs a somewhat complicated calculation, and we end up having to go up the minimum, which is 10 cents every year. And then, of course, Fred always wants to know why we can't lower our prices, and we would love to, but we have to do what the feds tell us to do, and we've got to go up the required minimum, which is 10%, so 10 cents. Oh, I know. So anyway, we'll go up at 10 cents, which is that we can't go up any less than that. So for high school and elementary, or for secondary and elementary.
All right, any questions on the meal prices? All right, 7.05 engagement letter for independent audit.
This is the engagement letter for our annual financial report. Last month we did the one for the efficiency audit. This is not that. This is separate engagement letter for our independent auditors that we do every year, and we're recommending that we continue to work with Weaver Tidwell. They do a great job.
All right, any questions on the engagement letter? All right, designation of officer to calculate and prepare tax rate. Sorry.
Yes, sir. This is something we do every year also in preparation for setting our tax rate. I do run our calculations ourselves, but I like for them to run them because they do it as part of their service. So it kind of gives me something to compare against. And last year we were right on, so we will do that again this year.
All right, any questions? All right, 7.07, license agreement with Tarrant County College District for use of Northeast Campus pool and locker room. Mr. Kerbo.
Well, good evening again. This is our annual agreement to use the Northeast pool at Tarrant County College. It's reduced a little bit in price this year, but it'll give us use of the pool for diving and swimming coaches programs, as well as the locker rooms and some lifeguard protection.
All right, any questions? So when our kids get on campus over there, will they be able to use the pool for free? Will that be like part of their tuition?
Early college swim.
Yeah. All right, 7.08, general liability, umbrella, and commercial auto insurance renewal.
Okay, a little bit of good news related to this one. Our premium actually dropped, but we looked at our coverage amount and we decided it was we could stay within the tort claims and reduce our coverage. So that resulted in a savings of about $30,000. So that includes our auto, general liability, professional liability coverage.
All right, any insurance questions? All right, 7.09, extension of CSP 21-06 for child nutrition services produce.
And this is the last year that, for this agreement right here, so we'll have to issue a new, our bid process for next year, but this is the final year to use this. You can see our expenditures on produce hover between 300, a little over 330,000. So we have a year-to-date number there, but we expect that to be about what we average annually. And this is just a routine item to continue buying tomatoes and lettuce and pickles and whatever else we need to make a salad.
All right, any questions on this CSP? All right, renewal of armored car services.
Again, this is a routine matter of business where we use Armored Car Services to pick up deposits at our campuses and bring them back to the administration building and so forth. So most of this, the majority of this is paid for out of student nutrition. Our overall expenditures are less than $100,000, but as you know, federal funded purchases of $50,000 or more require board action.
All right, any questions on the armored car services? 7.11, extension of RFP 24-13 for third-party transportation for McKinney-Vento student transportation.
And this agreement is to supplement what transportation services we provide, either through our the vehicles that we purchase specifically for McKinney-Vento transportation. And this just widens the net of our ability to provide those services. And as you know, we never know exactly how many of those routes are going to be needed, when they're going to be needed, and so forth. So this gives us a lot of flexibility and be able to meet those needs.
All right, any questions on this RFP? All right, RFP 24-22C, catering and snack service supplemental.
Doing our continuing quest to be able to purchase snacks and catering goods from every local vendor. This supplemental process was submitted and includes a number of folks that hadn't been part of our process before, either because they've been reluctant to sign up to do business with us, or their new business that has come in since we did our previous one. So we ask that you look at the list of recommended vendors there and see who we're going to be bringing on.
All right, any questions on the catering and snack services? 7.13, interlocal agreement with One GPA Purchasing Cooperative.
This is a purchasing cooperative that has been out there for some time. I actually thought we were members of it, but in looking at our list of cooperatives that we're members of, they are not on that list. So we just want to join that cooperative just to maximize the number of tools that we have to be able to buy the goods and services needed for the district.
All right. Is there any cost associated with that?
No cost to this.
Any questions? 7.14, extension of RFP 23-16 for travel management and related services.
And this agreement is, again, a renewal or extension of an existing contract that allows for us to utilize travel services for all the travelees that our district has, whether it's a VPA or international travel and so forth.
All right. Any questions on the travel management and related services? 7.15, advanced classes identified for no pass, no play exemptions for the 2025-2026 school year. Ms. Rhodes? All right, are there any questions on the list? I think we all got the list. All right. 7.16, organizations listed as extracurricular activities under 19 TAC, Texas Administrative Code. Were there any questions on this? Were there any additions this year? Was it the same list as last year? Okay. All right. 7.17, Memorandum of Understanding between HEBISD and Juvenile Board of Tarrant County. This is kind of just a renewal of the same thing that we do every year.
There were two additions that they made to number 2, which was they will cap their limit at 100, and they changed the word weapons to firearms. Those were the 2 additions.
All right. Any questions on this MOU? All right, thank you. 7.18, Power School renewals for 2025-2026. Do you have anything to add or just questions? Any questions? All right, 7.19, renewal of Imagine Learning Edgenuity for grades 6 through 12. Were there any questions on this renewal? All right, 7.20, purchase of Cisco switches. Any questions on these purchases? And 7.21, purchase of Cisco phones, correction from June 9th, 2025 agenda.
Yes, so we sent information in the Friday update just with the vendor name switch. Are there any questions about that change?
No questions. All right, thank you. All right, now we have a few action items. 8.01, consider approval of the 2025-2026 compensation plan.
Wait for Ms. Tuttle. She's going to really speak to the details of this plan. Of course, the reason I'm up here is because this is 86% of our budget. So our plan, I'm going to let Cicely speak to the details of that, but it is, we do have it incorporated into our budget. It's not where we wanted to be with the legislature, but is what it is, and most of it is funded. The raise is going to be funded by House Bill 2, but it's very prescriptive, as you know. What it amounts to for us is about above and beyond what they are funding is about a $1.4 million cost to the district, which we still can fund with what they have given us. It just doesn't reduce our deficit the way we had planned for it to. So with that, I'll turn it over to Cicely.
First, I want to say that the timing of this compensation and the notice and all of those pieces make it really important for me to give some credit to some individuals who really made this happen. And so I want to say to Mr. Stephen Jones, who's here in the audience, as well as Jacqueline Himla, and also we had some assistance from Katina Rhodes and Fritzy Odom in really just parsing out some of the positions and making sure that we were getting people into the right bucket. So I just want to start by saying that we truly could not have done all of this without their assistance, and I'm so grateful. What you're going to see in our compensation, what you have seen in our compensation plan is we have truly separated out the compensation plans for the individuals who are classified as classroom teachers according to Texas Education Code and those who we're calling teacher support roles. And so in the past, we've had one teacher pay scale, and now we have 2 different teacher pay scales. The first teacher pay scale is divided into a bachelor's, a master's, and a doctorate instead of all being on the same scale. And that is because Mr. Jones wanted to be very intentional to lay out for anyone who is looking at our teacher compensation, they should be able to see what they were, how many years of experience they had last year, what they earned last year, how many years of experience they have this year, what HB2 is providing, and if appropriate, what the district is providing, and then the total compensation. So that was truly about transparency and making sure that folks can follow where they were and where they would be and see that $5,000 increase if they are meeting the Texas Education Code definition, or a $2,500 increase if they are okay, let me back up. The state provided, House Bill 2 provided for years 3 and 4, $2,500, and for years 5 and up, $5,000. Because of the commitment of this board, we are proposing that we include all of our teachers, so our first year and second year teachers as well, because as you're aware, those are also teachers that we want to be able to keep in this profession. So through local funding, we are providing anyone with less than 5 years, the 2,500 who meet that definition, and then 5,000 for those who are 5 years and up. Now, what I want to really say that I'm proud of in this compensation plan and what we're proposing tonight and what we know that you all are also interested in is making sure that all of our employees receive a raise, because in HEB-ISD we know that school can't happen and kids can't learn without every single employee. And so for our individuals who are on that teacher support role plan, they would receive a 3% increase. And then for all other employees, so this includes our auxiliary, our paraprofessional clerical, our technical, and our administrative professional, they would receive 3% to the midpoint. And I always like to clarify what that means. You look at the 25-26 pay grade in which the employee falls, and then you look at the midpoint, and you take that and multiply it by 0.03 or 3%, and everyone in that pay grade would get that increase. What I want to point out is that we took this opportunity this year to do some revamping of the compensation plan in general, just to make it more user-friendly and ordering, formatting. But I just want to really, really quickly call out a couple new stipends in our supplemental pay section. So I'm just going to tick through about 6 of these very quickly. Associate principal at high school, class sponsor for juniors, and class sponsor for seniors at high school, and then Junior World Affairs Council. Those are 4 stipends from our academics that we have added for this coming school year. Under our paraprofessionals, we did add a bilingual teacher assistant for those who are bilingual pre-K, or Spanish immersion classroom teachers. So they have to be in support of one of those programs. Additionally, we have always had a Special Olympics district coordinator, but this program, we're so grateful that it continues to grow, and so we are adding a Special Olympics assistant coach for 2 sports, 3 sports, and 4 sports, so that that individual can have the assistance of others. And we also updated all of our part-time temporary rates. And the way that we do this is we look at the minimum in the pay grade for that job, and we increase to match that minimum. And so we are very excited to bring this to you tonight for your consideration, and we are very appreciative of your support for all employees in HEB-ISD. Any questions?
All right, what questions does the board have about the compensation plan? Cicely, I know this was just a tremendous amount of work that you and your team did. So complicated, so many layers, so many things that you had to think about, so many people you had to think about, so many positions, like you said, you had to put in the right place and follow all the rules. So I just want to express our gratitude for how much work you've put into this, and every time you get something new like this, you're trying to figure it out, because I often think the legislature doesn't know what they pass until they pass it, and people actually try to put it into effect, and that's what you've been trying to do over these last few weeks. So thank you for your efforts, and
Thank you. I'm glad that that our team doesn't have to do it alone. I'm thankful for the people who make this happen. Thank you.
All right.
And Matt, you mentioned that, and we're going to emphasize to our employees, if you have questions, just let us know. Reach out, because like you just said, the law may not be written in tight coherence with what actually needs to happen, and so there's a lot of interpretations that have to be made, and to actually follow the rules, it may not make sense to everyone, and that's what we want. We want everyone to understand, and so that's the thing. We're just making sure that if anyone does have a question, give us a call, and we'll be more than happy to sit down with them and help them understand, the law and where the law took us, and then what the district did and where the district stepped up, so people truly understand what they're getting.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
When you're talking about the class sponsors and the supplement, that's something new, right? Okay, so are you talking about one person who's getting this? That's the person?
Most of our supplements are for one person, that's correct. And if on a campus, let's just use an example of a junior high newspaper sponsor. If there are two individuals who want to split that duty, then typically they would split the supplement as well. And the only other thing that I will add is it is not traditional for us to spell out positions, obviously, in a compensation plan, but we really did try to leave no stone unturned. And so every position is listed who is a teacher, who's classified as a teacher, whether they're a classroom teacher or teacher support. They should be able to find their position on one of those two compensation plans.
All right. Any other questions? This is 87% of our budget right here, right? So.
That's true.
All right. I will accept the motion.
I move the board approve the proposed 2025-2026 compensation plan as recommended.
Second.
I have a motion and a second for the board to approve the proposed 2025-2026 compensation plan as recommended. Please vote. And that motion passes. All right. 8.02, consider approval of 2025-2026 HEB ISD Texas Teacher Evaluation and Support System Appraisal Calendar.
So as you're aware, we develop an evaluation timeline or calendar for every employee group, but the one that requires board approval is for our teachers, and that is because of the commissioner's rules from Texas Education Code. They give us some really specific deadlines and timelines that are not locally determined. So that's what you're approving this evening, is just one of our several evaluation timelines, but it is for teachers, and these are the timelines that we will utilize in carrying out the commissioner's rules. Any questions?
All right. Any questions on this calendar? I'll accept a motion.
I move the board approve the Texas Teacher Evaluation and Support T-Test Teacher Appraisal Calendar as submitted.
Second.
I have a motion and a second for the board to approve the Texas Teacher Evaluation and Support T-Test Teacher Appraisal Calendar as submitted. Please vote. And that motion passes. 8.03, consider approval of 2025-2026 HEB ISD Texas Teacher Evaluation and Support System Appraiser List.
So in keeping with the commissioner's rules, we are required to outline who the approved appraisers for teachers are, and we have to bring that list to you each year as a school board so that you can approve those. These individuals do have to be certified annually or every 2 years, depending on which cycle they're on. And we also, of course, include new individuals to our district. So that is the list that we're seeking your approval for this evening.
All right. Any questions on the list? I'll accept a motion.
I move that the board approve the list of Texas Teacher Evaluation and Support T-Tests Teacher Appraisers as submitted.
I have a motion and a second that the board approve the list of Texas Teacher Evaluation and Support T-Tests Teacher Appraisers as submitted. Please vote. And that motion passes. 8.04, consider approval of modifications to superintendent's contract. I'll accept a motion.
I move the board approve the superintendent's contract as submitted.
Second.
I have a motion and a second for the board to approve the superintendent's contract as submitted. Please vote. That motion passes. We're ready for open forum number 2. No cards. Other business. Does any board member have any items they'd like to request be placed on a future board agenda? All right. Review of the board activity chart. See, the only item that we don't have anything down for is the annual General Assembly luncheon. I'm not sure what that is. Is that North?
North Texas, no, it's
NCTCOG. So no one signed up for that. That's June 13th at the Hurst Conference Center, but yeah, it is June 13th, so that's in the past. So, okay, never mind. Yeah. Were you there, Andy?
Andy was there.
Okay. All right, looks like everything else is covered.
I see you're not on the lunch list for this, but are you going to be there in the morning?
Yeah, I'll be there in the morning, but not for lunch. All right, we do not need a second closed session, correct? Then at this time, I'll accept a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
We are adjourned.